So this episode of Shift Happens Catalyst Conversations is very special because for the first time ever, I have two people, Mark and Maria from Juicy MagiK. We also have like very special bond because we also met in person. We did something crazy together. We organized a burlesque show in Estonia, Tallinn during a Mind Valley University. And yeah, I'm not gonna talk too much myself. I'm just gonna hand over to them. I know that Mark and Maria, they have gone through many different shifts and transformations. And they're like on a forever long honeymoon right now, traveling the world. For me, this is like super inspiring. So maybe you can tell us a little bit more about what you're doing right now. What is the transformation that you went through to get into this phase of being this traveling couple who just explores and spreads the magic all over the world?
Well, first of all, thank you so much, Silja, for having us on the show. It's a real privilege, pleasure, and honor always to connect with good friends and also share being a force for good with the world. So we can, can we do our little thing that we always do at the beginning of our show? Okay, so I'm Mark.
And I'm Maria.
And this is Juicy MagiK on the daily. It's a lifestyle wellness brand. It's really more of a practice that we're offering to the world. It's a daily sadhana or practice. And we're just having the thrill of a lifetime, kind of a new chapter in life. In the Vedic scriptures, they typically look at life in quarters. And first 25 years, you're building energy. You're building up energy. It's called brahmacharya. You're really consolidating wisdom, knowledge, energy. And then if you don't become a monk, you become a householder, which most of us are householders. We have houses. We live in them. We're not monks. So, I mean, we can have the consciousness of a monk, but really, if we're going to have a family, we need to be a householder. So from 25 to 50, it's considered to use all that energy in growing the family, building the family. Children take a lot of time to raise and money and all kinds of things, and good energy too that you've built for those first 25 years. And then at 50, it's really recommended to kind of take what's called varnaprost, which typically means forest dweller or retired. Not that we're retired from life, we're eternal. So life is never ending. But in a sense, this is a really good, it's recommended at this time that because we all have to leave our bodies this is a good time to start to pull back a little bit. And that's what we found we naturally started doing when we turned 50. A lot of things fell apart. A lot of things that we had been both involved in it in different parts of the world. Everything kind of exploded and dissolved and people died and emptiness happened. And how else would you put it?
And even pulled this process too. So many people who are facing this process, they say, no, I'm not ready yet. But
I don't have everything all my ducks in a row. There were no ducks in our case.
But when we are confronted by it, I think I said I jumped into it and Mark jumped too. So we literally jumped into the abyss of the unknown, and we were very, very well rewarded because our lives now are much more magical than they could ever have been before. So,
and almost like, adventure stories or war where people are forced to really bond quickly. Yeah. Because it was a really painful and difficult, challenging process. It wasn't all, there were some amazing parts, but for the most part, for about 2 years, we both felt a great deal of dissolution and a great deal of things falling apart. And
why are all these strings taken from me? I don't want to let them go.
Yeah. At the started happening for you, it was also coming from the outside. Something was pushing you into this new phase of life.
Yeah.
And the universe was also pushing you together. I know that you have a magical story of meeting each other. So maybe you can also tell that one. How did you shift into the relationship?
Well, before I'll just quickly mention that what you were saying is that some external force, also internal. Typically in many camps of philosophy, they sort of see it as an either or. It's external, we're all one, or where it's internal, we're all separate. And this teaching of Lord Chaitanya came in 1486. He really said, no, it's a chinta beta, a beta tattva, which means it's simultaneously one yet distinct. It's within and without. It's above and below. There's this simultaneous oneness and distinction, which really accounts for there being an external, more powerful force than us, powerful person, as well as the internal sincerity and desires of the living entity. We all have all kinds of desires. And the more purified those desires become, the more the rewards are more subtle in nature. They're not so material based, and they give less distaste and sadness at the end. There is no end to them. So how do we, so you tell how you got to
Don't you
Jordan.
want to tell a story a little bit before too, when you went to bed?
Oh, sure. Okay. So I was approaching, and it wasn't like a midlife crisis, but I'm very grateful for all the people in my past. I'm not a victim. I'm not blaming anyone or saying it. I'm just trying to say that I think that the relationship had been really stagnated and challenging, and we were both going in different ways. This person I'd been with for, at the end, 15 years together. It's a long time.
I was with my ex also 15 years.
Yeah.
So it's
So
really funny.
there's
We
these
have
crazy synchronicities. And I try to see the faults in myself and not in others. Not always easy because we're taught to blame and shame and game and that whole crazy, silly game. But really, well, that's the thing. I'm hopefully not repeating any of the same mistakes. But at that point in time, I think we were all both ready for a change, and that neither of us were able to going because there was a lot of good things and a lot of things and a lot of shared time and experience. So I went out, I felt this intuitive feeling like I'd been involved in, for many, many years in the past, I had been involved in a practice of bhakti yoga, sadhana bhakti. And I really felt this wanting to return to that. And then at the same time, for the since about 2016, 17, I'd been exposed to this incredible new technology known as Bitcoin. It was really transforming my time preference. It was transforming my understanding of history, of everything. It's an incredibly powerful technology because it really is transformative. I had as much transformation as being involved with Bitcoin as I had with years of silent meditation. I went out to Banff, Alberta, which is a place where I had lived in the past while I was practicing silent meditation and doing some courses and offerings at a local church for people, kids in the area. It's a magnet for young people in the summer, Banff, Alberta. Beautiful place. And my oldest childhood friend, he still lives there. He's in Canmore with his wife of like 30 years. Their kids are all over the world now. But I went out there he's often a person he's very constant, consistent, strong, very intelligent person. And he's built his kids are amazing. He grew a business and left it. And it seems like all along the way, he was very consistent and successful in what he did. And so I just, went out there to hang with them it was snowy. And we went and hung out with his friend, who's the foremost grizzly bear researcher in the world, and a former chef from Switzerland named Reno Sommerhalder. And just seeing him again, I'd spent time with him when I lived out in Banff in the 90s, early 2000s. And just sitting in the snow and reflecting, and I had this really intense feeling like, oh my God, like when I go back home, I think there's going to be so many changes. I didn't even know what was coming. I didn't make a plan. Like, I want to change this one. I just had this intuitive sense that, oh boy, the next year or two are going to be really hard. Good, but really hard. And then I turned 50, I had this big party, but then I was planning these trips with my former partner and they just completely fell apart. They were disasters. Like, we went to Miami going together, and the first day she flew home, just things didn't work out. It was awful. And I was totally inspired by the community I was meeting. And then I was renewing my practices, and it just seemed like I sold some land. Like, had been in real estate for a very long time, and her sort of mode was hold forever. And I was ready to let go of real estate. I'd been in it for 20, 25 years, and I just didn't want to have it's very stressful industry, as most industries are, especially around renting to people or renting from people, doing sales on a high level with a lot of stakeholders involved. I just wanted to be done with it. So I sold some land in Florida that I'd had, and it freed up this energy. And I realized that, I've been involved a little bit with Mind Valley since 2013, 14 online.
He's gonna in
They used to give me the CDs. They used to send me the
everything.
DVDs, like I still have DVDs from Mind Valley. I went to see another friend, Brett Jones, he has a studio, Quiet Earth Studios in London. And I went to Detroit, which is a very important place in American history because of Motown, the big three automobiles. It kind of collapsed into complete dissolution and actually bankruptcy. But then this new movement in art and community farms had emerged out of Detroit. It's a different place now. So I went there on pilgrimage, so to speak, and to see what was called Tirtha. Tirtha is like holy places. You go on pilgrimage. And I realized I wanted to go to Jordan to this thing called A-Fest that I heard about through, I was on a phone call. I was on a phone call with Jit Awalka, who's kind of the head of EverCoach. He had a guest on, and it was Vishen Lakhian.
Wow.
And I was on there and people were saying, actually, I had applied to go to eFest, but I was rejected. So I'm on the phone.
I wouldn't have met him.
Yeah.
Like, he wouldn't have been in this call.
And I said at the end, Vishen said, I'm happy to take questions. And I said, oh, hey, Vish. And I meant this really sincerely. I was not being sarcastic or snarky or angry. I just figured I wasn't ready to go. I didn't have what they were looking for. And I said, I applied for eFest and I was rejected. And I'm just wondering if you have any tips for helping me maybe get to the next one. And Vishen looks over. He must have had his assistant or secretary there. He said, so-and-so, I don't remember who it was at the time. I know one of his assistants. Anyway, whoever it was at the time, he said, so-and-so, put Mark on the list for eFest. Okay, you're coming. I was like,
oh, that was like a divine intervention.
It was in February. So within a week or two, I had sold this property. I had some resources available finally. And because everything was kind of locked up. And I signed up for not only eFest, but for all the weeks at Mind Valley U in the summer. And I knew I needed to get outside of where I was living, outside of the changes come from within, but we also manifest them externally, or they reflect that need for change. Then I'm coming to eFest in Jordan. And why don't we say how you got there?
Yeah.
For me, it was similar. I was going through a really nasty divorce. I was in business as a CFO and managing shareholder of software companies. We had 7 companies in 5 countries.
She's not just a pretty face.
I know that she's very capable and she's like,
yeah, but my ex had more shares than I had. So he just let me go.
Kicked you out of the company, effectively.
Sort of.
Yeah.
And I went through this divorce fighting for
thank you, X.
shares.
Thank you, X, for kicking her out of the company because thank you very much.
It's so funny. People say, "Oh, I'm so sorry you're divorced," and I kept saying, "No, it's the best. I'm sorry." So I was in this stage of life where everything was taken from me because the companies were like children for me. I don't have children. I never wanted children, but the companies, building the companies, growing the companies was my family. So it was like putting my children to adoption, and all the people, we had 40 people working for us, 50 people working for us. So it was like my family. I paid all the wages for everybody else before I took care of myself. So I lost everything, and all our assets were in the companies. So we as private people didn't own anything. So when we were divorcing as a couple, we had nothing to share.
Sounds like a big shit for you. You're not losing the relationship. You're also losing the business, like the bill, thing.
Incredible. Like from one day to the other, your phone number is taken, your email is taken, and you have to return everything. You have to return your car, you have to return your laptop, you have to return your mouse and your mouse.
Your identity, your everything.
He insisted on everything because he said it's company property.
You get nothing.
He said,
I think he was a bit angry, but anyway, that's how it goes.
Whatever. It's okay. But I knew in my heart, everything will be okay. And I got so much support from friends, from family, and I didn't give up. So I got lawyers to fight for me and friends and everything. So in the end, I got something. And I wanted to go to AFES because I went to AFES in Portugal. That was my first AFES. And I booked a ticket for the next AFES in AFES, Portugal. That was 2018. But then came COVID and it was just cancel. But at the next AFES, which was Jordan, and I really wanted to come, but I didn't have money to go. So I thought, I need money to buy the plane ticket and the hotel. I had the ticket for the AFES, but not for everything around it. So I thought, okay, so let's see if I can make it. And 1 week before AFES, the money from my divorce landed in my bank account. So the day it landed, it was 1 week before, so I could buy the plane ticket and the hotel and everything. So I was able to go. 1 week later, and we wouldn't have met. That's so.
And actually,
So
at A-Fest, we only
Yeah.
ran into each other very, very, very briefly.
yeah,
We had a serendipitous, synchronistic meeting. We don't have any photos of each other.
Yeah.
I was still in a relationship, and I wasn't there. I was not there looking. I was there just looking to kind of more rediscover myself and then try to figure out where do I go from here. And I had to go all the way to Jordan, via Amsterdam and Zurich. But it's funny, in 1992, as a young person, 19 and then 20, I was traveling around the world with a backpack. There was no cell phones. It was just like a Lonely Planet book. And when I got to Israel, I originally wanted to go to Petra in Jordan because I'd always heard about it. There was no YouTube. Some of the big places you knew about, like Varanasi in India, where I had been, and Great Wall of China. But I was in Israel, and then they told me, because at that time there was no treaty between those countries, a lot of landmines between them too, because of bitter feuding over a mistaken identity, basically. Yeah, people thinking that they're the label on the body, which they're not. So we're all on the same team. It's really silly to hurt or harm anyone on the team that you're on, which is, we're all on the same team. All of life is. But anyway, I was staring across into Jordan from, what do they call them? The West Bank, I think. And wasn't allowed to go into Jordan because if you had a stamp in your passport from Israel, you kind of effectively couldn't go to a lot of countries. It didn't matter for Egypt for some reason at the time, so I was able to go into Egypt. But I remember thinking, oh gosh, I always wanted to see where Yeshua ben Yusuf, Emmanuel, the Mashiach of Bethlehem, Jesus Christ, had been baptized. And that was in Jordan. And I'd also wanted to go to see Petra. So here, literally 30 years later, I'm standing in the airport of Jordan, and I landed and I was able to get in. So we were at the event, and I think I really enjoyed meeting everyone, but I wasn't as into a lot of the classes and all this there's a lot of like stuff that's really like
Self-development workshops, courses, and
I have a picture on Instagram of me sitting in a lounge chair by the pool because I love being around water, and it was quiet and crickets, and I could hear people way off in the distance. But I had like a little picture of myself, like 2 a.m. I was up and I was just meditating and enjoying the moon. And at that point, after that, you tell them what happened. This is how I ran into Maria. Maria, there was some sort of event happening in the pool late at night. And
it's a little bit of a longer story, but I keep it short. During the time of my divorce, I had a Kundalini awakening. I was in Slovakia. All the borders were shut down. I was in a small apartment. During the day, I was working in the company because I had to be present at the office. But I took out both all my old meditation practices.
And it wasn't a short Kundalini awakening. It was a long one. And we'll get to that after.
Yeah. So I went through all that. I let go of a lot of things that I was holding on to, but that's a whole different story. But in that period, I had these rushes of energy coming through me, and they were very ecstatic. It was like having an orgasm.
All the time.
All the time. And then it peaked in a Kundalini awakening that was going on for 4 hours. And I was sitting at my laptop, and suddenly was like, and it just, and I was in a constant orgasm for 4 hours. And it just didn't stop. And I was typing in Google, what to do? And then they said, okay, treat fire with water, because it was like I was like in a huge fireball that was burning me up from everything, and was burning away everything that was
and in
resisting
truth,
the
it's a word of
energy.
caution. A lot of the ancient, the outside world and the lifestyle of real yogis in the Himalayas was much more conducive to handling Kundalini experiences. This is not the age for that, actually. And people don't understand what they're playing with. And there's many, many people who have been in psychiatric wards who've actually been physically harmed and mentally harmed by playing with this energy. And so it's not something
I was not pursuing it.
No.
It happens very spontaneously during my meditations, the way I was meditating. So it just happened because I said yes tonight. And the life force started flowing through me, and I was like, so I was in this whole process, and I wanted to go to A-Fest because it was very troubling. Just imagine you walk on the road, or you're in the office, or you're in a shop and you're at the cash and paying, and suddenly you're coming. It's not fun. And at A-Fest, I remember, because I had dreams, I had very vivid dreams. I have to go to A-Fest. At A-Fest, there will be a person who will help me. And I even had a guru, a Kundalini awakening guru, who was helping me to breathe through it in India. I had sessions 3-4 times a week, but it helped a little bit, but it just came back. So I knew I had to go to AFES. There will be somebody to help me. And I imagined this gorgeous woman. Not this gorgeous woman. Who will teach me how to handle the energy. So I had to go. And so when I arrived at AFES, they have exercise that they do. They say, hello, how can I serve you? What can I do for you? And everybody I was meeting, I was saying, I had a Kundalini awakening and I need to find a person who had one too. Do you know somebody here? Do I know somebody? And I was running around. And after 2 days, I had all these minions running around searching for somebody who had a Kundalini awakening. And there was even a teacher who was teaching orgasmic embrace. And there was this party where she was, and I went to her, and she also had a workshop, and I went in the workshop, but I couldn't stay there for more than 30 seconds. I had to leave the room.
Because instant.
Yeah, and I kept trying to keep it down, and she was like, "Oh, breathe," and I'm like, "No, I'm full room of people, doing this," and then she was like, "No, I need the other way around." So I talked to her, and I said, "What can I do? Do you know somebody?" And she said, "Oh, I don't have it like you do. I maybe had it a couple times for a couple minutes, but that's it." And I said, okay, but do you know somebody can help me?" And she said, "Oh, she will. If she knows somebody, she will send that person." She never sent anybody. Nothing. So all these teachers, they're teaching things, but they're not really experiencing it in the full extent of it. So if you really lock this out, this is so dangerous. And I talk to many people and they say, "Oh, that's wonderful. I wish I would have that." You have no idea. You're not able to live. You can't walk the street. You can't talk
Destroys
to anyone. Yes, it's not fun. It's not even, it sounds maybe fun, but it's not fun. You're troubled. And
You don't have any control over it. It's kind of like, what is the limit?
so,
Very agitating.
okay, I stopped that now. I could
So
talk
then-
for hours. So I was really troubled. But then there was this other party, and they had at the pool, they had some breath work. Mind Valley has this breath work teacher to activate. Activate. And then when I went to the pool, there were all these naked people screaming, and breathing into ecstasy, and I was like, "Oh my God, I need to run away from this." So the pool was at the one side of the venue, and on the other side of the venue, I just ran as far as I could away from this crazy breath work.
Which is where I was sitting.
Exactly. It was quiet. There were not many people. There were some bean bags, and there was just one bean bag that was empty. And I went there and I said, "Can I please, I need to sit down. I can't anymore. This is too much for me." And I sat down, and the people there said, "Yes, of course." And then I said, "Oh, who are you?" And I started saying, "Oh, I had the Kundalini awakening, and I searched for somebody who had one. Do you know somebody?" And then this really big guy turns around and says, "Oh yeah, I had one 30 years ago." And I thought, "What?" And that was what. So I tried to get all the information out of him that I could, and
We connected on WhatsApp anyway.
that's how we met.
Yeah, I've been living at many meditation centers and really, really deeply practicing silent and Kundalini yoga in a secluded place for several years. And then I had a long extended Kundalini awakening where I didn't even sleep for 3 months. And it has quite the effect on your emotional and physiological interior. It can blow out, the nadis, everything. It's like this whirlwind, a hurricane in your heart.
Burns you from the inside.
And the Sushumna is being cleaned, and the Pingala, the two surrounding snakes, so to speak, that sit at the base of the spine. It's like connecting you to eternity and to the universe. It's known as the white light, nirvana, nirvikalpa samadhi. And it obliterates everything. It literally obliterates. It takes away your sort of individual connection and everything with it gets torn apart and blown apart, and especially violently if you're not really, really clean and purified. And, I had lots of different mystical experiences through that, but no need to go into them. After that, I kind of I became very interested in bhakti yoga and a much more personal, deeper, higher connection to what I thought I was searching for through the Kundalini awakening. We connected on WhatsApp, and I went back home. Then we had a few weeks to get ready to go to Mind Valley U, and there's a second chapter, third chapter. There's so many things that happened through the period of a few months that was just mind blowing. Everything.
So it sounds like the universe was trying to put you two together, like making it happen and like working like first you were like kind of like parallel and then across and and then it's like crossing at some point.
We kept crossing and kept crossing and kept crossing. And
it's like crossing and then going apart again,
Yes.
crossing again. And yeah.
And then, we've lived together since the late fall of 2022. And from then we went on this whirlwind tour around the world. And I started selling all of my things and she started selling all of her things. Then my dad died and then I had to go back, and she was with me for that. She got to meet my dad before he passed away. Yeah. And we become very close, part of our families, taking my last name. We got legally married in Canada last year. We had like some ceremonies in the beginning, because we wanted to be in a committed relationship, but we've been traveling around the world on pilgrimage and also on honeymoon and really visiting every day, really special, sacred, holy places of all faiths from ancient times to more current times. And it's been absolutely, I think the mysticism people are looking for is really being awake, aware, having a real feeling of connection to not only all of life, but to the supreme person as well. And just surrendering more to that and to the lifestyle that comes with it.
But you have like a bucket list of places that you want to visit in the world because you're going through different places now and you're just being everywhere. Whenever I connect with you, you're like, oh, no, I'm in Greece, no, I'm there, no, I'm there.
Well, it's been 30 countries and counting, I think, together. And I've been to about 90 since I was in my mom's womb when she flew from Germany to Canada. So I've been traveling since I was not even out of the womb yet. So it's been a kind of feature in my life that I mean this with no disrespect to true transcendental spacemen like Narada Muni, but in our Juicy MagiK, some people have called me a transcendental spaceman because I just seem to pop up here and there. And it's true. I mean, I know that this isn't my final destination and that I'll probably keep traveling throughout the many universes, deepening my love for God and then also helping others come to that. So this transcendental spaceman, I'm also like a pilgrim and constant beginner mind. And I've been very, very fortunate not only to meet Maria, but just my whole life. It seems that no matter how badly I screwed up or messed up or tried to lean away from the absolute truth, like he always just kept saying, no, come on back. No matter what I did, I would always come back to this sadhana bhakti, this practice of the topmost yoga system, which is devotional service to God. So it's been amazing. And together now it's been circulating and, it's clear to me that she's had this in her past somewhere in some past life. And it's almost like it reignited and very quickly I have so much to learn from Maria every day. I'm so grateful for the time every day that we have together. I'm like a giddy teenager again in many ways. And, I know that I'm on the back nine instead of the front nine of the golf course, even if it's been 100 years, which is very difficult in this age. I'm past that 50-year point. So it's time we have a lot of fun and laugh a lot, but there's also a lot of soberness and, just graveness into the fact that, whoa, I am going to have to leave this body and everything attached to it. And so we're also in this process of really stripping down all of our material assets. Yeah. We could get into it maybe in another podcast, but we love to teach people sort of how they can, and there's no retirement. They'll always, the living entity by nature is active, but it's the type of activities we engage with and who we engage with that really will affect our consciousness and what we do. And so it's really important at some point to kind of let go of a lot of things that aren't necessary anymore. And we live on a very modest budget, but we have so much more of the things that people really truly want, which is time and freedom and space and quiet and lots of opportunity to be around nature. reflect deeply on the saints and scriptures, holy books, holy places, travel slow, eat slow, eat less, feel more full in a non-material sense. And it's really wonderful. It's so incredible to have someone, to have Maria to do this with. I spent a lot of parts of my life doing this process alone. And
So it's kind of like stripping down your life and minimalizing, you're getting rid of stuff. And I remember one of the experiences that we had together that was also about stripping
Yes.
out, kind of like remove.
yes, literally stripping. Oh,
So we can go into this story because I remember
please.
we met with Mark on a coaching call. So we're both 10x coaches,
Yes.
business coaches. And
We're just doing
someone
10X today at the gym, and someone was asking me about it. And I'm not professionally coaching right now, 10X, but I can't wait to, when we come back here, I'll build a community around 10X as well.
Yeah.
So Lorenzo
So
and
we went in a coaching exercise. So we had to coach each other and talk. And then we just started talking and we're like, oh, I'm also going to A-Fest. So we actually went to Colombia, Cartagena, and another A-Fest. So it shows that for you, A-Fest is a very good place
yes,
to meet amazing people.
thank you, Vishen Lakiani. Thank you, Mind Valley.
Yeah.
A-Fest. And, you know, for the most part now, I know I might go to where the A-Fest is and just hang out nearby because it's like,
Yeah.
I always found that even, especially at Cartagena, I didn't go to almost any of the classes or events. I was just there really to do the fashion show and then also meet you, which propelled us towards, you can maybe talk.
Yeah.
Going more.
Actually, it's already in the call that we had.
Well, that's right. We had the
first.
graduation call.
Yeah, we had the graduation go for the next coaching together. But before, the first time we met, you were also going to say something that, oh, I would like to do like a burlesque show.
And you were like,
Okay. I've been doing burlesque for many, many years in Estonia.
I didn't know.
And I was like, have you ever like done burlesque before? It's like, do you even know what it is? And I was like, okay, I can help you with this because I've done burlesque. I'm back on stage, so let's do it. And when we met in Gata, I started putting together a plan. And we made it happen so because Estonia, my country. So I know the local performers. I got some really good performers on the stage. I got us a place. And for me, I was even like always thinking, how is this going to go wrong? How can it be so easy? I was kind of doubting, but I guess it was meant to happen. And even if, of course, there was like a lot of stuff to do, but everything played out so well. We had, I guess, selling out all the time. I had to like add more tickets, and eventually the floor was super packed. It was super
cute. What a party. Oh my God. People had a blast.
crazy. I was like, but 200 people came to see the show. So we had some professional performers who I knew, like local ones. You were stripping down on the stage. I was doing a 2-hour number with like young Estonian strippers. So it was like a crazy night. And we did actually, I did it because I just love burlesque and stripping on the stage and being seen. But we also did it for the charity. So that was also your idea. So maybe tell us a little bit about why we did it.
Well, you know, my whole life, first of all, with my parents, but then, you know, I think giving is natural for the living entity to share and to give and to connect to community that way, care about others. And I've always had a soft spot for orphans. I feel, you know, we all feel sometimes when our parents pass away or we break up a relationship or something, or our pet dies, I think we sometimes feel abandoned or orphaned, just for a small period of time. And I often thought a lot about how, you know, in different scriptures like the Quran, they say it's good to be especially kind to orphans. That culture of the time was at war a lot. So there were a lot of orphans. So of course it was also put into that. But it dawned on me that, you know, we all have this feeling of wanting shelter, wanting to have people that love us unconditionally and that act as parents. And, you know, I certainly haven't lived a perfect life and, you know, but it was a chance for me what I wanted to do was bring people together to have fun, but also raise funds for
fun and funds.
Fun and funds. And that's the whole point of what I sort of came up with this idea, was calling it Operation Sunshine. Why? The sun shines equally on everyone, whether you're a demon or a saint or in between, the sun shines equally on everyone. And so then I thought, well, we'll have projects because I don't want this to be a one-off. I want to invest more of our time, energy, being, teaching, experience, money, resources, other people in helping orphanages. And with Bitcoin, I mean, we can get into it more, but there's ways to do it that's more transparent. There's less chance of funds being stolen or siphoned off for personal gain. All the funds go to the charity. And that was the beauty of the fashion show and the burlesque show, is there were almost no cost. People were donating their time. Even the venue lowered their rate to like €100 or something. And literally the only thing we only paid for the venue through the source, and then the rest went directly to the orphanage. So the idea was with Project Runway, which was in Cartagena, which was a fashion show, and then Project Naked, which also was Project Burlesque, was to give the funds to a local chain. And ahead of time, also, I connected with many people that had never been to A-Fest. I had already been to one at Jordan. And so I wanted people to have a great experience about, really giving back to the local community, to thank the land and the people where we were, instead of just coming in as tourists in Cartagena and staying in really fancy places. It was a way to get out. And so I had 3 Colombian people. I know Pablo was a big part of it, thanks to him. And there were 2 or 3 others. I can't recall off my head their name. I'm sorry. But they were instrumental in making sure that we picked 2 charities that were very well vetted, because there's a lot of bad stuff going on in the charity world from NGOs and NATO. And I mean, there's horror stories. So I wanted to make sure we were bringing money to, we're not just, it's like, you don't want to bring Coke to a Coke addict. You don't want to bring money to an organization that's corrupt. So they picked 2 really local, small, long-standing charities. One called Mises. It's sort of meant, so it's something about charity. It's really referencing Mother Mary. Dones de Misericordia. And they had an orphanage with 26 boys, and also across the road, 52 abandoned seniors that they're supporting, and some pets and everything. And the other charity was called She Is, and it focused on girls and young women who had been displaced because of the internal civil war in Colombia. And I've had a lot of experience being in war zones and places in my past, doing some charity through Trucks to Nicaragua and some other things. I had a soft spot for that. I grew up in a small town, very well sheltered, very well cared for, all my needs met. I mean, gosh, I didn't,
Gorgeous parents.
yeah, my parents were absolutely incredible. I have teachers that I still connect to now when I go home that were so good to me. At the end, the best part of the whole thing of the fashion show in Cartagena was some of the girls came from She Is, and we got to meet them. And there's videos on the Juicy MagiK website about that. And then I actually physically went out to the boys' orphanage. And now the whole point after this pilgrimage and long standing honeymoon, we are intending to make our way back down to Colombia through Mexico, Guatemala, Salvador, because we really want to see the magic of that Bukele and his advisors, Max and Stacey, are doing to the country of El Salvador through Bitcoin. And Guatemala's got a Bitcoin community, Honduras does. But we really want to make our way back to that orphanage and start there again and stay, not just bring money. My dad's name was John David, and he had passed away a couple months before I went down to Cartagena. And I was in agony there too, internally. I was really missing him. It took a long time for me to, after about 14 months, I could not cry when I thought about it, And the boys, the 2 youngest boys that took me on a tour of the abandoned seniors across the road, I asked them when they got to the truck, they said, "Oh, Mr. Mark, when will you come back? When will you come back?" That really saw me, because I knew, like, oh man, I have to come back here now. It touched my heart. And then I asked them, what their names was. And one said John, and the other one said David.
Wow.
Here, like, I could feel my father's presence, my biological father's presence, as well as my big father's presence. But I could just feel like my dad was so proud of me in that moment. In that moment, I was doing more of what I was meant to do with my life, which is give unconditionally, give the best to the least. And not that they're the least, they're wonderful boys, amazing place, and really well looked after. But the founder of Mises, Dones de Misericordia, has cancer. I don't know if she's passed away. And you can see that there's a need for someone else to come. And my dream was to do these projects once or twice a year where we raise fun and funds, the pickleball tournament, singing on stage, We Are the World, doing burlesque, doing comedy show, things that push us. I do not want to take my clothes off again.
So how did you actually get into this idea that I want to take my clothes off?
Well, I wanted to get naked before God, basically. And it's really intimidating if that's not what you want to do. I wanted to do something that was difficult. I wanted to get into really great shape physically, which obviously, it's like no one wants to look at something that's kind of all over the place too much.
But in burlesque, it's also like there are all kinds of different
Yeah, the
bodies.
community's amazing.
So
It's
like,
better than the word
and
stripping.
so kind of
You
just show it.
totally.
And yeah, what did you think about this when Mark was like, okay, I want to be on burlesque stage, I want to strip, I want to do it in front of many people, big crowd. What was your first reaction? Because I know that you talked about this to me at some
Yeah,
point.
right away. She was very supportive,
yeah.
but she's
No,
very stressed about
he
it too.
told me that
In the fall, I think.
he was really in the States. He was in a very shifting state. You know, when everything is shifting, you're not really stable. And he wanted to, he said, he needs to get out of his comfort zone and he needs to do something he's uncomfortable with, to step over barriers or borders that he has inside of him. And he was uncomfortable with taking off his clothes. So he said, okay,
Not in private so
yeah,
much.
but he told me in this one call, people were exploring, okay, how can I really get to my limits?
Mm. It was on a slow down.
Yeah, face your limits. And he just needed that. He needed some target, some goal. So I thought, okay, so if I don't know why, but if that's what you want to do, just go for it. So we don't try to change each other. When I know he needs something and he wants something, then I support him. Although I am quite uncomfortable. I mean, it's not nice. When I was at the event and I was sitting there, I was like,
Because I had a friend I was supposed to do, I was going to try and get Maria to do it with me, but then she was like, no way. So then I had to call in last minute. My friend Alessandra from Brazil stepped in as my foil on stage for my performance. Like that kind of came about on the day of. Like there was really,
That's very
but
something.
halfway through getting ready for the burlesque, my father passed away. He left his body. And it took everything I had to get from that February to the May, and then again to July, early July. It took everything I had to keep going and to do it. And then I started to train. I said, I'm going to do it for him. I'm going to do it for these kids. And there were no kids in the audience, obviously. It's not for children.
No, it's an adult event.
Yes. But the proceeds, 100% of it, when you sent it, the only downside was I really wanted to meet or see the orphanage.
But it was also like, kind of summer holidays.
Yeah, it wasn't a good time. Wasn't a good time.
So we had a good time, and that was that was actually like outside the city as well, where they had this.
And it's not like a zoo. The kids aren't meant to come and be, it's meant to be a spectator. But it was very different in Colombia. The kids welcomed me with like this. They were excited for me to come. They'd heard about what we were doing with this fashion show, and they did a dance for me. They were like, they showed me the way they all had beds with the turquoise bed sheet. Like they made their beds like military style. They had really, one guy showed me the piano that he was doing and a DJ thing. I really want to go back every year now.
We'll go back.
And have these fun fundraising, Operation Sunshine, Project Laugh, Project Sing, bring really wonderful people together like we did for the burlesque show and raise some fun and funds and awareness, and then go and stay for a month or two at the orphanage that we support if we're able to, and be there to teach English, to teach tech, to teach finance and Bitcoin mining, and ways that these orphanages can actually generate long time stores of value for their future, for their schooling, for their well-being, and so forth.
Yes. And I wasn't there, but Mark was sending me a video with the boys welcoming him. I put it on the YouTube channel. And when I watched it, I started crying because it's so touching.
They were so sweet and genuine. Oh my God.
I thought, what else should we do if not support kids like that?
So we're aiming to go back, and then with connecting with the community, maybe stay nearby at a local, rent a room or an apartment nearby, so that every day we can go for
just
6
see what
weeks
they need.
and see how it goes,
You wanted to organize this soccer tour.
Yeah, I mean, I've been collecting ideas all over the world because I'm really into brand. I'm really into brands and how they grow. And I want to also find ways to bring them together in a sorority or fraternity to show them, hey, you could be among the most 26 wealthy, internally and externally, people in Colombia in 20 years if you keep together. You have 26 brothers. I have one brother. And we want to, they had a huge field. I was thinking we could make this into a soccer field. Then I was thinking, we could get it's easy to get small micro businesses that sell food, especially in Colombia where there's not a lot of bureaucracy. So neighborhood soccer matches, the community comes out, people talk to each other again, get together, and then maybe the kids learn how to sell food and make food, or they have a brand. And so like I went into Juventus in Milan, or no, it was in Turin, whoever the big soccer. Maria and I went to the World Cup in Qatar, and I don't follow sports much except for tennis. But we went because Canada was there for the second time in its history. We were behind the Canadian goal, behind the Belgian goal. So we almost got a blows and crap. But the whole time I kept thinking, I kept seeing how popular soccer football is, and the uniforms, and that they had brands. And then I went into the Juventus, I think it was Juventus store in Turin. God, was that?
Doesn't matter.
It was like a year ago. I don't know. But I kept thinking, I want to have like a football club uniforms for these kids. I want them to have not a false identity, but just a source of absolute pride. Pride in them, in their lives, pride in their community, pride in their language, Spanish, or pride in their homeland in Colombia. What I want to show them is that you're saving us. We're not here to save you. You're saving us. We could be doing all kinds of nonsense with our lives. And they'll help us, focus on the resources we have, which are immense. We're all extremely privileged. And that actually gives us liberation. That gives us freedom. That gives us joy and peace, engaging in something like this. So that's the whole thing about the Operation Sunshine. And you were sort of the fledgling first 2-3 months where I had these ideas for both 6 months. It was through a program called CLO at Mind Valley. I didn't stay in the program, but the people I met in that program, I was telling them about all these things. I was also telling them how I wanted to propose to Maria, even though she said she was never going to get married again for the rest of her life. She kept telling me this. I'm never getting married. And I kept telling people on the phone, I'm going over to England to propose to her. I'm in love with her and I can't not propose to her. And my brother actually was very kind. I called him. I said, what do I do? Like, I go there? And she says, no. He said, it's fine. She says, no, just keep going. You don't have to. I wasn't saying if she didn't say yes, then we were finished.
You were so great.
Yeah.
I had a lot of great support. I was so nervous. Yet again.
There was,
Yeah.
everybody came up to me when we were at the event.
Yeah.
And everybody said, you are
You're the Maria.
Who are you? And
There was a Mind Valley CLO event outside of Dubai, one of the Emirates.
So anyway, Mark, you sound like somebody who has so many different ideas. You're going in all the different directions. You want to do some crazy big things. How do you choose what idea to pursue, what idea to make into reality, what kind of shift to start?
Well, for
Or
instance,
is it maybe Maria is also sharing the ideas for you? I don't know. Which one's for you?
It starts with a lot of prayer and a lot of meditation. We use God's names to meditate on. All faiths, the same practice is encouraged on beads and then with instruments. But, it's all for his glorification, not for ours. But we have a lot of friends around the world. And recently, for instance, we were on our way to a place called Medjugorje, which is in Bosnia. And it's famous for some kids that saw the apparition of Mary, Mother Mary there. And it's become a very big global pilgrimage place. We have respect for all faiths and we love worshiping with people regardless of their faith. And we went to visit a friend of mine named Vlad in Croatia. He's an amazing guy. And in fact, I had bought from him. This is a whole other story about how I've been experimenting with different types of currency for the last 10 years and assets, and to come to the conclusion that there is no better asset than Bitcoin. But anyway, I had some gold and I traded it with him for a lifetime membership to give to Maria because I wanted to give her all these things when we were in our engagement and when we were getting to know each other. And so, because she had also helped, it's another story, but she'd helped me huge with a lot of money to help close on a house that I needed to move into because I was separating.
we need to write it.
Yeah, there's a book of every week and day and month, there were synchronicities and things that I healed for her by the way that I responded. And then that things she healed for me and the ways that she responded to things that I got into trouble with or challenges with.
Yeah, but return
To Vlad. So on our pilgrimage, we were also visiting some friends along the way. We love, we're going to go see Anastasia in Russia, or we spent time with Fedora in Milan. We hope to see Francesco in Milan. We'd love to see you in Tallinn. We went to Cartagena to visit people and Vlad. So Vlad is in Croatia. He's a real estate guy. And so I've always had a bit of an obsession with tennis, but I'm older and I noticed that there's this fastest expanding sport in the world is pickleball. And I keep thinking, and it's also around what do you gravitate towards? Well, I know I love events that are fun. Events that are fun tend to raise more funds. We'll have a good time, like at that burlesque show, people were having a great time and they were willing to donate and give. And so I've been thinking about this. I really want to do a pickleball tournament, but everyone dresses up as their favorite superhero. I was inspired by Jim Quick and some of the stuff that he was doing with Mind Valley in his life. But also I like cosplay. I've never really engaged much in that community, but I like the idea of dressing up in a big blue cat suit with a tail and playing pickleball because it just seems really kooky and weird and fun. And I like sports when they're not hyper competitive, but when they're just get great movement, exercise, and fun and socialize. I was telling him about Operation Sunshine and how I wanted to do my next event, either a stand-up comedy. I'd met someone at Mind Valley who's a poker player in Las Vegas. Another idea. I'm not into gambling, but we could do something with a boxing tournament or boxing gyms are really good for kids to, especially orphans, to learn self-defense.
So it sounds like many ideas come to you because you meet all these people who are doing different things, and you kind of like from social interactions, the things click into place.
Yeah. And so Vlad goes, oh, he's got some big financiers in Italy because he grew up with a lot of Italians there in real estate. He's building a pickleball court.
And we're sitting there and we just started laughing out loud because we were just before, the week before, Mark was talking about this pickleball tournament. And now we're sitting with a friend who's just building a pickleball court.
And then he says, well, by the way, you have to go to Medjugorje because I support an orphanage in Medjugorje. So again,
it all comes together.
I don't have to pick the orphanage. It's good for whoever's in the country to vet and make sure that that's a really good quality place. Because if we're going to put our energy, time, or resources to something, we want it to support something that's really, really good.
So it's more like somebody out there who has many names is deciding for us because it just comes to us and it becomes obvious what we should do next.
Even Adora, we stayed over at Adora's house in Milan and we were talking about a singing event. People love to sing.
Yeah.
And actually not with all the stuff behind, but just a cappella or just getting up and sharing your voice. That would be another event. And then Francesco, who's a Mind Valley guy, we did a meditation, a transcendental sound vibration meditation gathering at Mind Valley U in the summer of 2023. Just before we left, it was like the day after the burlesque show and then the day after we left, I think, for more of our pilgrimage. But he goes, oh, this guy, and I met his mom and they came to the house and we started talking about how much I love furniture and fashion in Italy. And he goes, I work in the fashion and furniture industry. We should do an event around fashion. And Fashion Design Week is coming up in Milan. We can't do it this year, but already there's these seeds, like Milan's a beautiful city. One of my youngest daughters is a fashion model. So, it would also be really fun to do it in Milan with these friends. Naturally, those are places where there's more people. We live in the rural hinterlands. We're hermits, basically. It also takes me a lot of, people think I'm an extrovert, but actually, in fact, I'm an introvert because I get more energy from being away from people.
That's why he's so energetic right now.
I'm not shying around and being performing in front of people, but I don't get at the end of the burlesque, remember what I said to you?
I just want to go home.
I want to go home and watch Disney. I wanted to just go home and be in bed and watch. Everyone kept partying and I left after the burlesque show was over. Like the party kept going and we went home because I was like, I've got to go home. I need some quiet.
But you gave everything on that
I did.
stage.
Yeah.
He really gave everything. And I was very proud of him that he pulled it through.
Yeah. You. And then I know at some point there was a third person that was going to help us and then she couldn't. She was from Poland. And then we asked David to come and step in a little bit and help as well. And I know that
nice tree of organizing.
And he had a huge transformation after that. Like he just massive after that. It was
it was also like going out of his comfort zone, maybe doing this dance on the stage and like doing something crazy,
I love that guy. We have a story about how we met David in the laundromat of the container hotel she was staying. It was really around the time when I first re-met Maria at Mind Valley U that I connected with David the year before. And I really loved him. He's like a godbrother to me. And we're also talking about doing something again in the future, for Operation Sunshine.
So many ideas. We have really your life being retired.
life is giving you ideas, your network is giving you ideas, and everything is kind of magically coming together. Because whenever you say, I want to do this, a person appears. So when you were like, I want to do burlesque, you were in a call with me.
Well,
Yeah, I want to do burlesque in Estonia. Let's do it.
and
Just kind of,
it really, it's not as much, it's not for me, but there's no judgment. And at the same time, boy, do I have ever learned so much about different communities and just how important community is these days. With AI and everything, it's going to become more and more important to have real, long, consistent community that you can connect with.
I use AI, I use ChatGPT, I use video editing tools, but I also feel that people are longing more for this real human connection, because even sometimes when I see somebody teaching you, oh, how to write an ebook with AI in 2 minutes and then make money, I'm like, I wouldn't want to read that kind of ebook that AI made in 2 minutes. I want to read about somebody's real experience. I want to read a real story. And that's why I'm also doing this podcast, to have this human connection.
Thank you.
And I'm also talking to people in my network, because I also feel that there are so many cool people in my network, and I'm just reconnecting. And this podcast is also like an excuse to connect with other people, mostly from Mind Valley, but also from other circles.
Yeah.
Just connecting to people in Japan, in Greece. We also talk to somebody in Canada. So I will have somebody from South Africa very soon. So this is also like an excuse to have this human connection. And even if we don't see each other very often, even if we don't talk every month, even, it's still like very
Wonderful.
deep connect,
Yeah.
because you're like connected on a very deep level. And no AI can replace that kind of
No,
human.
we'll always be
connection.
friends. And it's so nice because no matter how long the time is between, it'll be so nice to see you again when we do. We'll want to catch up. And we certainly say to the audience that if you have ideas for a fun and fundraising activity, and we have what we call the Juicy MagiK Mobile. We have a home on wheels. It's a sleeper van. It's very small. There's not even a bathroom in there. We bathe in the rivers and do more austerities when we're on the road. That's another thing. If you do austerities, when you come back to running water and electricity, it's luxury. So you realize we have a lot. We have a lot, but we get used to it. We take it for granted. If anyone out there wants, whether it's Singapore or Beijing or Santiago or Buenos Aires or Miami, we are really excited to do a couple events every year around raising funds for orphanages. And if you have an idea, you can reach us at juicymagic.com, JuicyMagiK, magic with a K.com. And juicy.magic is our handle at YouTube.
Yeah, we have the nice Frangipani logo. We are not the big oops and downs.
Yeah, what's that? Before, I've been thinking about Juicy MagiK for years, and Maria helped me birth it as a co-founder and brand co-founder. But it was the first time I saw, I'm looking for, she's like, I launched a Juicy MagiK and we've been working on the logo. We have a neon sign at home that we recently had made for our podcast. And can't we see it? We haven't plugged it. We left before we could plug it in. But I go on to YouTube and I type in Juicy MagiK, and what comes up is like, whoa! It's like rap stars with really, really big bum ladies, firstly not
shaking them. We're shaking
and
them.
on the top, above our logo and below, and it's like, oh my god, plan. It's sort of God has a great sense of humor.
Do the people will find you between all these poops and butts and stuff?
That's part of the thing. We don't want a lot of followers, so to speak. We're trying to build community. We want to gather like-minded people. That's why we turned off all the comments on our social media feed. We don't want people fighting and arguing. There's a lot of fraud going on. Bots go on those comments. And so if people want to connect with us, and we're very available through our website, juicymagic.com, there's a portal. And tell us about the Agora, why we chose the word Agora.
Yesterday we were in ancient Messini, and there was this huge plaza still there with the columns all around. And the old Greek called it Agora. And Agora is the old meeting place. And it also has a marketplace where they all sell their grains and fruits. And that's where the people were meeting at the Agora. So we don't have a mystery school or, I don't know, some fancy, I don't know what. We have the Agora to meet with
for community.
Others.
Yeah.
So I built an Agora platform. It's like social media, but in a safe place where no bot can come inside, where we can take care of the people who are inside, and where we can really have heart-to-heart conversations, not in the public.
And down the road, more intimate setting events where
Yeah.
people can learn more about we do 10-minute videos. So we're doing a type of breathing meditation, but there's so much more.
Yeah.
Yeah. And down the road, we can have also people like yourself and people we care about. We can do referrals. And what we intend to do is have the spiral effect where all of any kind of referrals we get, or, sometimes you get paid off of a certain website for recommending it. We want all of that to funnel back to the orphanages. We've kind of set a very, very modest budget for our month-to-month existence. Keeps us humble. I sold my car. I don't even have a car. I don't even have a bicycle. I got a couple pairs of shoes, which are great. I love shoes, but it's not about having more and more and more and more money.
But we still find more stuff that
Yeah.
we can sell.
Yeah. So we keep finding things to sell because we want to keep putting it into helping kids and just helping people in the world too, who are looking for more what they call very high time preference, where they're looking very far and down the road, in fact, into eternity. And when you make decisions that are good for you and others, good now, good later, and that are more based on 1,000 years, let's say, time scale, we put that in our website. Like, we're trying to work on things that will help generate 1,000 years of peace.
Oh, wow. So you have like a plan for 1,000 years. You don't have like a 3-year plan, 5-year plan.
No script, no
It's
script.
got to be built so that it outlives many generations.
It's beyond yourselves. It's beyond your lifetime and lifespan. That's beautiful. And it also sounds that you are like reducing the amount of things that you own.
Yes.
And you're also reducing maybe the shallow connections and only having the meaningful,
Yes.
deep ones, meaningful community. So it's not always about having more and doing more. You are like, okay, you're seeing more countries, you're seeing more places.
Yes, that's true. It's a bit of an addiction, but anyway.
That is like expanding. But otherwise, you're like kind of stripping down in many ways. So you started stripping on the Buddhist states almost 2 years ago, and now we're
Metaphor.
stripping life.
Yeah, trying to get down to, they say that we are who we are eternally, but we have a lot of layers, a lot of masks we're taught to wear, and a lot of external desires that pull us away from more of our natural inclinations. Right. We know what we love, whether it's petting a cat or taking care of kids or whatever, wanting to have just a family. That's more than enough. It's a huge thing, and it's very valid and valuable. That the everyday people that just, do their duty and don't commit, mass wire fraud like Bernie Madoff, or don't engage in warfare to sort of expand a kingdom. That's the problem with kingdoms. They take a lot of resources to keep going. And so we want a much smaller kingdom where everyone's welcome, but where there's no need for a lot of defense, I mean, we have to be careful who we let into our lives and into our communities, but at the same time, we want everyone to feel welcome. In the practices we encourage in our Juicy MagiK on the Daily podcast, anyone of any age, faith, culture, gender, skin color, ethnicity can practice them. They involve sound. And first sense to develop in the womb is sound. The last sense to develop before we leave our bodies is hearing. So hearing is really important. It's the most important sense, so to speak, sort of informs all the other ones. So we're hoping that we can keep building fun and fundraising events on our time away, whether we're living in Canada. We share a home with my mom, and Maria's mom's in Vienna. We want to be close to our moms. We don't have our dads anymore, so we want to make sure the moms are looked after. And then we live in Greece. We love Greece. And the times in between is when we want to focus on 1 or 2 events every year, and then spend 6 to 8 weeks at the orphanage or assisting people who are running the orphanage and bringing new, fresh ideas, especially around freedom technologies like Bitcoin and Bitcoin mining, and how they can perpetually generate income. For the biggest challenge for any organization, whether it's profit or nonprofit, is generating revenue. That's a whole other topic. I've been doing a deep dive into that for about 6 years and 7 years, and it's fascinating, incredible. There's a community there too. And we want these kids to have the best of everything, really. And sometimes it turns out that, or most of the time, the best of everything is actually the simplest, most timeless and elegant tools, processes. It's not the big crazy stuff that's actually valuable. It's the things that last.
That's an interesting synchronicity. So when I came to Barcelona 6 months ago, I also sold my home in Estonia because I felt that I want to be in Barcelona now. I got rid of a lot of stuff. I have some stuff in storage, and I also took 8 boxes, like 100 kilos plus 2 suitcases. So 150 kilos of stuff I took here, plus the cat. And I got rid of a lot of stuff. I got rid of many clothes and things and just giving stuff away. And now I'm actually going back to Estonia, back to like country, because I feel that I want to have a little bit more simplified life. Yes, Barcelona is cool, but I would say for me, it's like too many distractions, too many communities, too many events, and I even feel guilty when I'm not going out. And if I'm living in this city with a beautiful Sagrada Familia and all the
Whoa.
sites and stuff, why the hell do I want to like spend time indoors and make a podcast and little videos? Why am I not enjoying the city? I'm kind of feeling guilty because of this. So I want to go back to Estonia to have a little bit simpler
Wow.
life. I also want a family now.
Nice.
I don't have anybody, and I don't have a partner yet. But at Estonia, with less distractions, nature more close by. So
Yes.
a place where I will live,
Beautiful.
I will 10-minute walk to be in the forest, but it's still in the city.
Mm.
The
Talent's
city
one of
has
our favorite cities. We love it.
so much forest. And I'm also like looking for a simplified life, less distractions, less things happening. So the things that are happening, the events, the people, they're all like higher quality in a way.
Yep.
And I feel that my mind, my nervous system will also be calmer and more relaxed if there's less stuff happening. I needed this stage of my life in Barcelona just to understand that now I want to simplify and like cool down a bit. I'm like in like the stage of my life, but still I'm a little bit synchronistic with you. Of course, I will travel, but the basics will be like,
Yeah.
yes, calm.
Keep the foundation close. And it's ironic that in a sense that on our pilgrimage, we came through Barcelona. We missed you by like a week or 2 weeks.
I was like, that was this 1 week, and I guess I was in Estonia
Yeah.
bringing my cat.
Yeah. And we met our friends Seb and
I
Sebastian,
was great one.
who are living
Yeah,
in
I was
Barcelona.
even if on 5 days, but that was exactly the time when you were here.
And we literally had to be in Slovakia because she needed a wet signature, which means in person. I was able to sell my house digitally while I was away. My good friend and one of my mentors sold the house for me. Maria, it's funny, we were in the bank in Slovakia in the village where her father passed away. And I had never been there. And we were in this bank and we had been at a coffee shop earlier. And I remember looking across at this really handsome young couple having coffee. And I thought, oh God, they look in love. They look really nice. That's the couple that bought Maria's condo. We met them in the bank. And then while we're in the bank and we're sending, I get a phone call. I get a phone call from my friend and the realtor who was doing the on the ground work. I was a licensed realtor as well. I'm letting that go now. But he informed me that my house had also sold at the same.
Literally within a couple minutes.
Yeah. And then we were able to carry on through the
Yes.
Balkans, meet
Yeah.
Vlad, go down to Albania. I went back, got my mom. We went to backpack through Asia with my mom for 2 months. And Maria was part of that for about 6 weeks.
Yeah.
And we ended up in Thailand and then India and then back in Greece. So we'll be in Cape
Back
Colors.
mother, it sounds like a cool adventure.
And my mom's 87 and I have an uncle, her brother who's 88 and they're crazy. It's like they were made out of titanium German steel or something. They're like unstoppable. They're just they're like always sort of complaining that all their friends have died and that no one keeps up with it. And we can keep up with them.
They have young friends now.
Yeah. So anyway, we're looking forward to being back in Canada for the summer and fall. Then we'll make our way down. If that's the goal, is to make our way to El Salvador. We're going to meet Caroline in Mexico City, meet some friends in Honduras and Guatemala, and then go to hopefully see Pablo in Medellin in Colombia, and then go back to that orphanage near Cartagena. And that's kind of the end of our pilgrimage, will be the beginning of what we hope will be the next 10 years, of participating and being more consistent. I know the kids really wanted me to come back, and I think having consistent. Yeah. Yeah.
So if somebody also wants to have similar lifestyle to you, just traveling and doing whatever the hell they want to do, what kind of advice would you give that person? Where to start?
Well, I guess that's a funny question because it all depends. The classic answer, it depends.
Same thing. Get rid of your stuff, then it's easier, lighter to travel.
Yeah, and I guess even shifting the mentality is really, I know when I was practicing in personal meditation that I always wanted to get rid of stuff, but really a higher understanding is it's not ours to begin with. All energies come from and belong to the Supreme Person, who's the natural owner, controller, and friend, best friend of every living entity. So even our stuff, it's not really ours. So what I would say is, if you can't engage it in loving service, let someone else use it. Let someone else use it, and take everything you have, your energy, your time, your resources, your money, everything, and start to engage it in loving service. That was the whole point of those events, to the end result. And I know people had a lot of fun during the events, and most people forgot about the after part. But the whole point was to engage people in loving service, because I really love Mind Valley and I love a lot of those things. But I also notice sometimes there can be a high degree of extremely expensive things. And a lot of people, young people, have gotten into debt going to these things, trying to keep up with this lifestyle.
Yeah, we know some people who indebted themselves just to keep
So,
up.
there's a dark side to everything. And so what we would recommend was just really get in touch with the people, places, and pursuits that give you true peace and joy, that really connect at a very deep level. And most of us know what this is from when we were kids, or moments in our life when we felt really loved, when we felt that we were contributing in a way that, maybe we worked hard at it, but there was sort of a natural inclination to what we were doing and giving, and also working with others. Like, if everyone just loved, the two commandments that Christ gave was to love God with all your heart, mind, and soul. And the second was like unto it, love your neighbors. Wherever there's life, there's a person. Everything and everyone is your neighbor. So really working on being at peace with our neighbors, because that's the war machine, the industrial, military, pharma, banking, complex cartel. It's a death cult. The only way we can fight that and win is through peace. And we have to create peace in our own lives, in our own hearts, in our relationships, and then in our communities.
Yeah, that for me was really interesting. And it's a process. It really takes, you're on this journey to learn this.
I'm kind of that Shiva destroyer energy. I love.
I know, that's why I'm trying to calm you down.
No, but about giving away,
getting
I
inspired.
love helping people give away and burn, and
Let's inspire.
Yeah, you're balancing each other out. It's like one is like, and the other one is like keeping it all together in a way.
For me, it was different because, when we were bumping into each other in talent at that Mind Valley U, I was not, Mark was not that gorgeous woman I was before. Yeah.
clearly.
But we kept spending time together, and I just kept seeing him, giving out bread, taking care of people, and picking flowers and petting dogs. And I was drawn to him. My eyes kept telling me no.
Are you saying?
No, I was searching for something else. I had a clear picture, and that's why all these manifesting techniques where you like, imagine exactly how it has to look. Forget about it. Forget about it. The universe knows much better what you need than you do. The first thing is, don't trust your eyes. Just forget about what you see.
Even in human design, depending on a specific design, there are two types of people. Some people are specific manifestors who need to have all the details. And some are like me, non-specific. So for me, I just have to have like a feeling, some general vague idea. And I'm not supposed to know the color of the carpet that I want to have in my house or the color of my husband's eye.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's non-specific.
for me, it's both.
It's very
For me, it's both. Sometimes it's very specific, and sometimes it's very totally not.
So maybe you actually want specific, but you were trying to do it in a specific way. This gorgeous woman from the universe was like, nope.
No, it's not working. But I was drawn to him, and I just wanted to stand next to him. I just wanted to be close. I kept wondering, what is this? What is this? This is strange. This is really strange.
Yeah, I know this feeling. Sometimes it's like,
I didn't know what it was. I didn't know what it was. And one day I was at your apartment, and I was like, what is this? What is this? And I turned around. What did you say?
It's love.
So love is not butterflies. Love is not jumping around, being excited. Love is calm, peace, and harmony. And so that's what you should trust.
Yeah. I mean, I do a lot of coaching calls because I'm technically not so engaged in the material life so much and gathering and making money and all that, that I'm able to offer. I've had so many great coaching calls with Mind Valley people. I remember actually I made a call with you from the Tesla Museum in Croatia. Funny because the people in the Balkans, they all argue over what country. Serbia's like, no, Tesla's from Serbia. Croatia's like, no, he's from Croatia. I was like, oh my God, it's the Kali Yuga. Everyone will fight over everything. But anyway, we were at this beautiful, incredible museum dedicated to the life and work of Tesla in the middle of this village in Croatia. And we had a call. I remember I had a call.
Yeah.
And, for me, I kind of a couple hours a week just doing, they're not so much, I don't call them so much coaching. I just want to be a positive force for good. I'm not that old yet, but, I could be like an uncle, hopefully one day, a grandfather in the quality and big brother. And it's really nice. I have a lot of siblings, nephews, nieces, brothers, sisters out there in the world. And I love connecting with them and then just being a sounding board, trying my best to give honest, authentic experience advice when it's asked, when it's needed. It was on a great call with Elliot in Paris and we just had such a great time talking, and it gives me a chance to reconnect with people and catch up on their life and also give back and just say, thank you. Thank you so much for being out there, Silja. Thank you so much for the life that you have, what you're building. And I can't wait to meet your bigger family when, I don't know if your mom and dad are still around, but they're also family. And, sometimes we choose our family and obviously not everyone can get along and be with their biological family. But for the most part, we all have family. We're on a bigger family cosmically. But I look forward to when we can visit and see what comes when you're back in Tallinn. It gives us a great reason to go up to Tallinn. I still haven't been to Moldova or Belarus, so I still have to visit those countries.
Yeah, Tallinn, it's beautiful. And if you come, we would also just go into the nature more and explore that side of Tallinn.
Yes.
Not just, the bars and burlesque and city-wise, but there's also this huge nature stuff because it's so like very, very connected to nature and kind of this. We don't have like religion, but we love our forest and just being in the nature. And there are some mystical witches, springs, and mystical trees, holy sacred trees. So it's a different kind of vibe, more nature focused.
Well, I do remember meeting a very nice priest at the very old church with the clock tower in the old city. And we had a very interesting discussion, theological discussion together. I mean, I am really amazed at the Lithuanian, Latvian, and Estonian people. And it's particularly their resistance to the state, the Soviet Union and communism. And so I have a great deal of respect and I love the history of the people, very articulate and very smart and also creative and resilient, a great people. So we're blessed to come back, hopefully someday, inshallah. Yeah.
Yeah, I would love that.
No.
So people can find you on the YouTube channel, on the website.
We're on Primal, decentralized stuff. We're on Fountain and Primal. Podcasts, we're on Spotify. We might do iHeart too. We're on Spotify, YouTube, Juicy, Juicy. Our website is Juicy MagiK, MAGIK.com, and Juicy.magic, I think, for TikTok, and all the links are there. There's a link tree.
You can give me the links and I will just put them into the description. So I need to
the link.
or any other.
We'd love to. We're just growing. We don't want followers as much as we just want to help grow community around the world. And then eventually we want to come and meet people that are in our communities online and share time and space and energy with them and engage in some wonderful practices and just have some fun and raise some funds and also connect and learn about cultures. And now more than ever, we're going through a period for the next 20, 30 years where there's a lot of isolationism. It's natural. There's this tendency to go from centralization to decentralization and from sort of the collective, and it gets to the crescendo back to individualism. And I think for the next few years, at least decades, I see a real trend towards isolationism, people pulling in. And I think at this point, the light bringers and people that want to connect people to the bigger family, cosmic family, we need to connect with each other and meet and continue to share food and stories, time in nature, you know, timeless things. If it's a football match, I'm thinking of creating I was really impressed by what I saw in Qatar and the sheer joy of people performing from Africa, from South America, with their regalia, their costumes, their national dress. It's not wrong to want to have a national identity. It's okay. Right now, I mean, I think of EU and Brussels, I won't get into it, but it's almost like they want every city to be a hollowed out shell where everyone looks the same and everything looks the same. And I think it's really important for people to reconnect to their roots and their ancestors.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing. I'm going back.
Proud of
So,
your culture, your history, and it doesn't mean you can't connect to the whole cosmic family, but you can. That's a chinta beta beta tapa. We can be one and still distinct. We can have feeling of oneness, like husband and wife. We can be oneness in spirit, but we're not the same person. She has things she likes that I don't, and we still have distinction, but there's oneness and harmony. And that's what we like to teach through our meditation is this oneness and distinction at the same time. It'll be so nice to see you again. We hope I can't wait to, I don't know, I haven't never been to a country yet that I don't love, but we really want to help bring people together, even as we go through this period of tumult.
and also if you love the singing part, you know how Estonia got free from Soviet Union.
And everyone linking hands and singing.
Yeah, and we also had the song festivals happening every few years. So there's like 100,000, the world's biggest choir singing together.
We experienced that the summer of 2023. I think it was on, wasn't it? That summer?
Maybe.
There was big gatherings and people singing.
It was, 2023. There was the singing and dance festival.
Students.
So that's the world's biggest choir. And the choirs in Estonia, they also like audition to be in this big party and sing together. And also the audience is also singing. So they come together on this song festival grounds. And it's like a big event. It's like a massive. I have only been participating in the dance part when I was 15 years old, but it was also super cool. The dance festival is also like on a big stadium.
Giving me ideas for the singing Operation Sunshine. You're here. We're going to have to do another one.
Yeah, I got. So yeah, the dance festival, I was there when I was 15. And we practiced like for 1 week before. Of course, before that, it's like 1 year, 2 years practicing with your own people in your own city. And then we come together. And for a week, we practice making big patterns of people like on the stadium. So somebody watching the dance festival, you can see the forming patterns and it's super beautiful. Wow. It's crazy. And I'm still amazed that I was part of this at some point.
You have that lovely park that's dedicated to the old way of living. It's like an outdoor museum there.
Oh, yeah.
One of my absolute favorite, unique, iconic musicians is Arvo Pärt. And the Arvo Pärt Center is mind-blowing. It's another thing we did when we started to come together. You know, well, obviously there's every country, every culture has a really, when you get into it, there's so much depth. Human beings and life is extraordinary. Wherever there's life, there's a person. And that's the thing that the more you get to know yourself, the more that you can see the beauty and wonderfulness of other living entities and appreciate it for what it is. And so thank you so much. We do have some ideas to share with you. You've been
yeah, I feel that there's going to be something crazy is going to be happening. If you are involved, there's always something crazy happening in a good way.
Yeah, definitely.
So thanks so much, Maria. And yeah, I hope to see you at some point, somewhere, wherever in the world, doing something crazy again together.
Well, we thank the audience, whoever's tuning in. We wish for you, may peace be with you and upon you. And may you know peace, joy, and freedom, and through love, surrender, devotion, whatever you're doing. And that it's true that devotion and sincerity will elevate a person, no matter what they're doing. So we wish for everyone for world peace. We wish for peace in our hearts and in our communities. And let's commit guerrilla love fair wherever we go and fight the darkness with light, with more darkness. So peace be with you.
Yeah, thank you.
Namaste.